Yo, what's up? This is Fantasy Fling with DFS Army, and we are doing a Battle Royale first look draft. So we're going to take an overview of the slate, look at some game environments we may want to target, player ADPs, best matchups, guys we're going to want to target in our Battle Royale drafts, and of course we're going to do a Battle Royale live draft. So I will just start this by saying one of the things that I love this week is there's several good game environments, and I don't really think there's any obvious clear standout above the other game environments. There's a handful of these, 3 or 4 of these games that could really go off. And I think what that's going to do just overall for DFS on this week 9 slate is I think it's going to, it's going to be easier to get to unique builds essentially without having to go really off the board. So we will start off with the game of the week, Kansas City on the road going against Buffalo. This has been interesting because the past several years, we've kind of seen the same scenario where Kansas City has the Bills number in the postseason, but in the regular season, the Bills have won these games. I want to say they won definitely the last 2 years. And this game, what I like about this game is Kansas City's playing a different brand of football right now. They're playing really good offense. The past several years, they've been winning on defense, but their offense is firing. They finally got everyone. They got Rashid Rice. They got Xavier Worthy. They got Hollywood Brown. They got Kelsey. They're banged up at running back, but I like that even better because that favors Patrick Mahomes and the receivers in the offense. On the other side, we have the Bills as home dogs. Very rare for them to be home dogs. It's essentially been the James Cook show, and then, Josh Allen will take over games here and there. Could this be one of those games where he takes over? Possibly, for sure. I'd like Josh Allen naked builds this week. Don't have to worry about stacking him up with, someone who's going to dud out, so he can run him naked. And I think this game is going to be competitive back and forth and bring a lot of goodness. Now, couple other games that I do like this week. Chicago going on the road to Cincinnati. Neither of these teams really play defense. Specifically Cincinnati, they're giving up 31 points per game, just getting carved up. They got carved up by the Jets last week. Jets team without Garrett Wilson, just basically Breece Hall just running wild over them. So this game sets up as a potential shootout spot. And with Flacco under center, we are getting more of the Bengals offense. Like Chase Brown is back in play. We could play Jamar Chase. We could play T. Higgins. Joe Burrow light, essentially, at this point. He's not as good as Joe Burrow, but he's got enough receiving weapons and he gets the ball out quickly that we're getting a goodness from the offense again. Unlike we were getting with Jake Browning. And then a couple other spots. Minnesota going on the road to Detroit. I mean, it's not looking good for Minnesota. I like the Detroit side of this specifically. The running backs, Gibbs, Montgomery. We'll see where their ADPs are. Amon-Ra is always in play. This is a good spot with a 28.5 point team total there. And then a couple other spots. Indy has been incredible. This game, Pittsburgh doesn't have a very good defense, but they can score. They got Rodgers, who does not look washed. So this game, I think, has good potential to go back and forth. In fact, Indy has kind of been a team that you could target with opposing wide receivers. So Metcalf's the guy that's in play this week. I do think this game has potential to go back and forth, and maybe we even get more of a Daniel Jones game. He had a great week last week, actually. But if that offense is going through the air, maybe, it's not a Jonathan Taylor week. It's been so far. But, when we look at this, Pittsburgh has, let's see, the Pittsburgh run game. They've actually, no, that was a quarterback. Pittsburgh has, that's kind of what I thought of. They're a top 10 run defense. So the way that Jonathan Taylor fails in this game, I think, is Pittsburgh comes out, they put some points on the board, they start scoring, they Indy gets behind and Jonathan Taylor, is kind of scripted out a little bit and it's more on Daniel Jones. Listen, I think that's probably not the most likely scenario. They've been very good on offense. They've basically been able to do what they want. And Jonathan Taylor is having an MVP-like season, and that's likely to continue. But the scenario where he doesn't have the best game and he has a down game is probably Pittsburgh comes out at home. They put some points on the board quickly, and Indy is playing from behind, and it's more of the Daniel Jones show. So as far as a couple other team environments, we are going to be targeting the Rams. Puka's back. Love Puka. He's the clear top wide receiver off the board this week. Of course, Adams is always in play. Depending on Kyron's ADP, I'll take some shots there. Blake Corum is getting way too much run, so that's a little concerning for me. But I still think you could take some shots here on Kyron. This is a really good spot. Second highest team total on the slate. Actually, looking at it, 29. That actually looks to be the highest team total on the slate, followed by Detroit's 28.5.5. And then a couple other spots that I really like. Los Angeles going against Tennessee. Tennessee's been a dead team. So this, I think, sets up well for Kamani Vidal here. But, also the Chargers, their pass catchers with Herbert are always in play. McConkey's actually had a lot of volume. The past 3 weeks, he's seen over 9 targets every game. So I like going back to McConkey here. Of course, Allen is in play. Godson, this kid's coming out of nowhere. 5th-round pick. He's going to be a tight end play that's a great option in this spot. In the last 2 teams, obviously, you got Green Bay with a high team total. Don't really love a whole lot from Green Bay here, except Tucker Kraft and Josh Jacobs. That's the kind of team total favorite at home that you want to target. And those are been the guys that have been the most reliable in the offense. And San Fran and the New York Giants, 25.5. What sets up well for the Giants is Cam Scadaboo. Obviously, he's hurt last week, and that's terrible. He's done for the year. So maybe we'll get Tyrone Tracy at a discount in this spot. On the other side, Christian McCaffrey, stud coming off a dud. I think we can go back to Christian McCaffrey. I like George Kittle. We'll see where guys like Jennings are showing up in drafts. Maybe, he'd be a good last round pick, but I think that is going to do it for, the games we may want to target. So let's see if we can hop into one of these. All right, so we're not going to have a whole lot of time to look at ADP because this is starting here in a minute. Christian McCaffrey looking like a top guy off the board. Okay. I'll take Jonathan Taylor here if everyone's going Christian McCaffrey first, but I don't, hate any of these spots. I think this all makes sense to me. I would rather have Puka Nacua over Jamar Chase in that spot. But, listen, I think, it's 1A and 1B this week, and I think some of this is probably, Nacua, maybe people haven't seen the news. They just expected to play. So, and I guess it does kind of set up in the same way, like, yeah, Jamar Chase has T. Higgins, Puka Nacua has Devontae Adams, like that. Both of those wide receivers get still production. I still think I would lean Puka, but that's just me. We'll see who goes first off the board here, and how we're going to attack this draft. I think my initial lean is like, I'm not doing a ton of volume right now with these Battle Royale, so I kind of want to just have one take on the slate and just build around that. Kansas City Buffalo is a game that I want to get pieces from, but we're also going to see how the board falls to us and who we can get. So one Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor. In fact, let's get this board pulled up. There goes Jamar Chase. Will Puka make it to me? I don't know. I'm going to be happy with taking any of these running backs here. Um, tough decisions. You know what? I'm going to take Puka. Something's just telling me to take Puka and go for broke. Doubled up at wide receiver, so Josh Jacobs made it back to me. I love that. He took Rice and Amon-Ra. Josh Allen and Mahomes are going to be the first quarterbacks off the board. Let's see if any of them make it back. I would definitely take either or. But if they don't, I'm looking to see what I can get from this game. What pieces can I get? Obviously, can't get Rice. Rice is going high. Maybe it's a worthy game. Worthy going in the last round. There went Mahomes. I'm guessing Josh Allen is going next. Within the next, couple picks here that aren't Lego Batman. So fully loaded, doubled up at running back with Christian McCaffrey, Kyron Williams. That's probably earlier that I would have wanted to take Kyron Williams. I probably would have been looking to get him in the third or fourth, just based on the drop that we've seen from him in volume. It is a little concerning. There went Josh Allen, so got to start thinking about another quarterback. Justin Jefferson went. I still think we can get Xavier Worthy late. Do I want to do, and this is the thing, I would be totally down to just do a double up Stafford stack, but I just don't see New Orleans pushing Los Angeles to the point where a Stafford double is what's going to get there. There went Kamani Vidal. Adunze. Where's Chase Brown? Maybe we just avoid that game entirely. I don't know. It's a tough decision. All right, I'm going to take Tucker Kraft. We'll get a secondary stack here with Tucker Kraft. I hope DeAndre Swift makes it back to me. He's in a good spot this week. I would love to take him there, or I could take Chase Brown. There went Chase Brown. So that will not be an option, but that's perfectly fine. I wouldn't have taken Chase Brown there anyway. That's definitely too early for my taste. Are there any other? God, Nico Collins is going to go late. No one. You know what? I'm going to end up taking Nico Collins, which would be perfectly fine, and just avoiding that KC and Buffalo game altogether. If Nico Collins makes it to me, the reason being is Nico Collins is questionable, but from all accounts, he's expected to play this week. From what I remember, it was a concussion, right? So normally guys are good the second week. And I think the field is kind of sleeping on the fact that Patrick Surtain is going to be out. Yeah, he's trending towards a week 9 return. Patrick Surtain is going to be out for the Denver Broncos this week. So if I could get Nico Collins going against a backup wide receiver, I get him in the last round. I would jump all over that. We could take Justin Herbert. We could take Daniel Jones. I would be good with any of those quarterbacks. Could even stack up Stafford. Do not like Knicks this week against Houston on the road. But let's see which one of these quarterbacks makes it back to me. Because I'm guessing one of these guys is going to take one, maybe two. There went Bauer. So little run on tight end. All right. So I have my pick of quarterback. I will not take quarterback. I will take Nico Collins here, who I wanted to take. I was set on taking Worthy once I queued him up, but then this ADP for Nico Collins, like as soon as we get word that he's going to play and the field catches up to the fact that Patrick Surtain is going to be out, I think Nico Collins is going to shoot up draft boards. So being able to start a draft with Puka Nacua, Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft, Nico Collins, like these are some studs, and I ended up getting Nico at 33 here. And then obviously got Swift in a really good matchup. The worry with Swift is he really hasn't been, getting as much volume as you want. Monungai's been, mixing in more than you would hope for Swift. But where I got him at 20 in that matchup, that's honestly the best matchup on the slate against Cincinnati, a Cincinnati team that we watched Breece Hall just go nuclear last week because Cincinnati cannot stop the run. So I'm going to take Justin Herbert unstacked. I'm fine with it. I got Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft. So I got they got a 28.5 team total. I got a little correlation there, a little team stack. And then DeAndre Swift just in a really good spot. Puka Nacua in a really good spot. Nico Collins in a better spot, I think, than the field thinks it is, assuming he plays. If not, I'll adjust my rankings, and there will certainly be some options here. So I like this draft. I like how this went. Let's take a look at just overall ADPs for what we're seeing in this draft. Let's wait for this guy to pick, and then we'll kind of go to swap rankings here. Okay. So this draft is completed. First one. Let's go to swap rankings. Let's see where ADPs are. So, yeah, we kind of went through a little bit of this. Christian McCaffrey, JT, Chase, Gibbs, Jacobs, Puka, Bijan, Amon-Ra. I don't see anything like out of the ordinary with like this first round here, essentially. We go past that. Like I get Rashee Rice. I love this. Mahomes, Allen, like these two should definitely be the top wide receivers off the board. Where I mean, Justin Jefferson at the 2-3 turn, like that's a good spot for him. James Cook, Kyron. This is where I start to disagree with the board. I think Kyron could smash for sure, but is he getting the full workload? Is he getting 20 carries, or is he going to get like 12 or 13? So if he's getting not enough, 12 or 13, I don't love him in that spot. I would probably Devontae Adams, like I would probably have like Nico Collins up in this range, and I'm essentially getting him where I got him at 33. I like Pittman. I would have DK Metcalf a little bit higher. That's a good spot. McConkey, I'd have them higher. I like Vidal, Swift a little higher than Genty this week. Of course, Jacksonville. Now we look at this. Jacksonville is a good run defense, and it's a negative game script, but they're at home. They're coming off a bye. This, actually, I don't disagree with Genty's ADP here. I think he's a guy that I could easily see outperforming Kyron Williams. So I don't hate that where he's going. I like Warren, Tucker Kraft. I think those guys are priced accordingly. Kittle, and then guys, Brock Bowers, I think, is going to return this week. So he might be like a really good value right now at spot 29. Godson, like I love Godson as his long-term prospects for what we've seen this year, but I would fade that recency bias. I would probably take Kelsey over him in that spot. I think Chase Brown's been a little undervalued. He's had a couple of good games. Laporta, that's a click I like in the last round. Also Kincaid, if he plays, he's gonna be going undrafted in some drafts, and I certainly would like him in that matchup against Kansas City, assuming he plays. This is a really good value for David Montgomery against Minnesota. This is like, I just did the draft battle with Geek a little bit earlier, and he was talking about like, this is the kind of game that David Montgomery like will normally score like 2 touchdowns, and he's just undervalued just all over the place. When you see Detroit with these big implied team totals, and Minnesota, we'll take a look at it. I'm pretty sure they're a team that you can run on pretty good. They don't have like, yeah. So they're like just a little bit better than average against the run. So when you have Detroit moving the ball at will up and down the field, David Montgomery falls into the end zone a couple times. He could certainly get there at his ADP of 35. Jameson Williams, another guy, probably really undervalued right now in that spot. He could certainly nuke. I really want to target players who have big playability, who are going undervalued by the field, and are in games that we want to target, have high team totals, that sort of thing. I'd be totally out on Chris Olave this week with Shuck coming in on the road against the Rams. That's more of like a DraftKings kind of play for me, where maybe he's going to PPR scam his way to a good score. But I don't think he's getting a touchdown this week, and I would be happy to fade that. Khalil Shakir, every now and then we will see Khalil Shakir bust out for a big game. I could see it in this spot against Kansas City. And when you got these guys, again, just like Jameson Williams, especially like in a game that could be game of the week here, I like this. Yeah, I think there's some really good like late picks. And because I think, it's like I was saying, there are like a lot of good game environments, like you don't have to really try hard to get unique this week. I think just kind of mixing it up with some of these guys in the last rounds, like Keenan Allen, Jameson Williams. What are we looking at? Xavier Worthy, like Nico Collins. Like I said, like Nico Collins, I promise you he's going to shoot up in ADP if he, if it's like by Friday, once they know that he's going to be a go. And, I'm going to be able to look at this draft and, I got him with the second to last pick. And, that makes that pick, that draft of mine unique as is. So that's going to do it. If you guys like these first look drafts, let me know. Hit that like button. Let me know who you are on this week, who you are targeting in Battle Royale drafts. And for DFS Army VIPs, check the NFL coaches notes, as we will. I'll be dropping my cheat sheet by Thursday for DFS Army VIPs. The plays that we really settle on after we continue to dive more into the research and look at the matchups and projections and whatnot. Some undervalued plays, top stacks to target. Top plays of the slate, core plays, all that. Check the coaches notes for that. If you want to become a DFS Army VIP, get access to all this, as well as the domination station, the research station, all the different things that DFS Army VIPs use to win big each and every week. If you don't believe me, check my week in review video on this channel that we drop each and every week. A lot of big wins. We got the projections, the prop projections that normally drop on Wednesday. That and all the other tools. Code Fantasy Fling, 10% off a VIP subscription. So that's going to do it for this one. Good luck this week. We'll see you next time.